Welcome to the third episode of Vista Mall 2019 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who has never knowingly stolen a pair of jeans, Logan Saunders.
Morning.
Morning, evening, whatever time it is. Given it's pretty much borderline for me at the moment.
Yeah, just give or take a few minutes.
I know this is an off-podcast thing, but Logan fell asleep and has annoyed me.
Yeah, I figured.
Logan knows when he's annoyed me because I'm very blunt with him. He just gets chats off me going, "How long?"
Yeah, there's no passivity about it.
No pleasantries, it's just, hurry up, I'm tired. And how has your last week in Japan been?
Oh, I am more exhausted, I think, than I have anticipated. Too many trains throughout the country, especially trying to get in and out of Tokyo each day. Yesterday was a nightmare. I actually ended up being late for work because of it. Not just late for this podcast, I was actually late for my tutoring. But luckily I didn't have any students scheduled. I messaged them saying, yeah, I kind of messed up which trains to take to get back to my Airbnb. So I'm going to be like half an hour late.
So after a day where you were late for work, you then didn't set any alarms this morning?
I set a alarm. I just didn't set alarms. I set a alarm, woke up briefly, and fell back asleep, thinking, okay, a couple minutes and then I'll watch Views the Mole. Nope.
Tell you what will make life easier. Next week, how about we do it in your evening?
That may actually be a better idea. And the thing on top of that is the next place I stay in. I'm only there for like a couple of days or a few days, so if there's anyone like adjacent rooms with really thin walls, they're only going to be upset with me for like one day, and then they never have to see me again.
Logan Saunders pissing people off from around the world.
Global piss off.
Yeah. So what have you actually been up to, other than forgetting or getting the wrong trains in and out of Tokyo?
Pokemon Cafe, did the Imperial Palace yesterday, had a very brief stop at the Tokyo Dome, went through the Baseball Museum, the Shibuya Crossing, hung around Shinjuku, went to the Nintendo bar, went to the 8-Bit Cafe, but it was terrible, so I left within a few minutes. And I've been, it's either been tutoring or just trying to get in and out of Tokyo. Talked to my family for the first time in over 3 weeks yesterday. Yeah, so a lot going on.
And you didn't get on Amazing Race Canada again.
Yeah, they just announced that applications closed for it, and I didn't get a call back. I'm pretty much certain Wayne didn't get a call back, and Kurt didn't either. They haven't said a word to me.
But maybe they're sworn to secrecy.
It hasn't stopped them from saying if they made it or not in the past, saying, nope, no, not even, they were saying, yeah, we got finals a couple years ago, made it nowhere this time. Because, what was it, Wayne got to finals the very first season or second season, and then him and Gore didn't make it on, and then they just haven't heard anything back since then. And then Kurt got to finals 2 or 3 years ago, and then him and Shelley haven't heard anything since either. Oh yeah, because that was the year they cast a bunch of all-female teams. So yeah, not even Kurt nor Wayne have heard a single thing for years and years now.
And neither of you.
No, between all the shows I've applied for, I'm currently 0 for 13, with only like 2 stage 2 callbacks. I haven't even made it to stage 3 yet.
I'm assuming you've not heard anything for Big Brother Canada either.
No, and I'm pretty sure casting's got to be pretty much wrapped up for that, because that starts filming in March.
Anyway, Vista Mall.
Yes.
So, previously, Sinan got to lead the group, everyone tripped in a laser labyrinth, and we found out the cost of a yoker, and 3 people got yokers, but only Sinan opened his worthless one. And at the first execution, it was Evie who was the first to leave. And we're still in Medellin.
And we're still with only one person executed, as we'll find out by the end of this episode.
Yeah, it's making the suspect list interesting, this, because the more they front-load these executions, the harder the suspect list becomes.
They should just have a series of non-eliminations, and then like the last 3 episodes are each double executions.
Oh, don't even joke about it.
No one gets to figure out who the mole is this year. Congratulations.
You're all screwed.
Yeah. It's the exact. Everyone figured out Peter was the mole last year amongst the last 5 contestants. This year, we're countering it by nobody being able to pinpoint who it is. You have to split ticket until the finale.
And then everyone gets it wrong. Someone wins by default.
Yeah. The mole is Hans. I was here the whole time, you didn't even know it. Who'd you think threw that pipe into the jungle?
The mole is literally underground because that's where Hans lives.
Yeah. He survived off of a ration of MREs and crackers.
And Evie left on day 3, which means we start on day 4. And Niels and Robert are roommates, and Robert says that if Niels is the mole, he'll eat Niels' guitar. In other words, Niels is the mole.
Yeah. Hopefully it's spaghetti string guitar.
And Sarah and Eveline are roommates, and they decide on a loose bond.
They're casually dating because the Netherlands is so liberal.
And then everyone is sent to Comuna, the final clue from the location hints. And in the first assignment, they have to borrow clothing from the locals of Comuna to make the Colombian flag on as many clotheslines as possible. And it's formed of yellow, blue and red clothing, in that order. And Rick gives them all words to remember.
Very easy words to remember. I'm not the most fluent speaker of Spanish. I can get by with slower conversation. But yeah, this was very, very basic Spanish. Like, probably stuff you learn within the first, 3 or 4 lessons on Duolingo.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest word in there was probably toalla, or towel.
Yeah, tuaja, tuaja. I thought there was the J. I thought he pronounced the double L as a J there.
No, he pronounced toalla, because I wrote it down deliberately, it's the only pronunciation. So Jamie got Bandera Colombiana, Nikki got Azul, Sarah got Amarillo, and I'm pronouncing it the proper Spanish way rather than the Colombian Spanish, before you correct me. Sinan got Presta, Meryl got Rojo, Robert got Ropa, Eveline got Devolve, Rick Fall got Toalla, and Niels got Gracias.
Yeah. That's a tough one to remember. Grazie? Oh, damn it. That's Italian. They're not going to understand what I mean at all.
When they do stuff like this, the mole tends to get a hint word of some description, which is why I wrote them all down, because there's going to be a hint hidden in that list somewhere. I just don't know what it is.
Imagine if that was one of the words somebody was given as a clue. And your word is mole. Or talpa.
Yeah, it's talpa.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, that makes it easy.
And we also find out that Jamie and Eveline speak Spanish, so in order to stop them having a real easy time, Rick kidnaps them.
It makes sense. It's like, oh, we're all each learning like one word in Spanish, but yet we have 2 people who are fluent in it. Niels Gracias isn't going to have to go too far. And
they have to pick whether the others will fill 0 to 5 lines or 6 to 9 in half an hour of begging. And if they are correct, they earn €1,500 for the pot.
I'm sure they would have correctly assumed that it was going to be 6 or more lines if they knew that Meryl was just going to steal everyone's clothes.
Yeah, if they knew that Meryl was a thief, they probably would have guessed correctly.
By the way, what's the Spanish word for kleptomaniac? That's your word, Meryl. Kleptomujera.
I think the Spanish word for kleptomaniac might have to be our episode title.
And this is quite the trilingual business, because you get the subtitles in Dutch while Rick gives out the Spanish words as they're speaking Spanish, and yet we're reading and thinking in English. And they struggle with the Colombian flag.
Yeah, they don't seem to know what a pattern is.
Yeah, yellow, blue, red. At least they didn't put in like purple or something, like put in the parrot from the flag of Dominica.
Let's be real though, that was a mole action. There was no other reason that they would have had them out of order. The mole was there just kind of shifting stuff along and sneakily doing things, surely.
Between that and the pipe being thrown into the jungle, the mole didn't succeed with either super subtle sabotage this week. None of those affected anything.
All they had to rely on was Jamie and Evelyn not actually trusting their teammates.
Do you think Jamie and Evelyn are ruled out as the mole then because they didn't put the clothes out of order?
I certainly think it was someone on that side of the challenge rather than Jamie or Evelyn.
Even though Evelyn did a lot of damage this week because first she said, oh no, they're not going to do 6 or more lines. And the next time she's like, well, I jinxed the last one, so I'm just going to go with majority. But it was like a 5-4 vote to determine whether or not they were going to do the pipes quick enough or not. So her vote was actually the deciding vote to go for longer. And they ended up doing it in a shorter amount of time, so she cost them another grand. So she sabotaged 2,500 euros this week, which is definitely the biggest sabotage, I think, for a single episode of any of the contestants so far this season.
And we also find out that Sarah speaks Portuguese as she lived in Brazil for a while. And Rick Paul doesn't have a pair, so he just becomes chief hanger.
Yeah, the chief executioner. The executioner of Colombian clothes.
This is one of those challenges that you can tell that they plan for either 8 or 9 people. But yeah, there was just someone left over. Do what you want.
Or Sinan, who just hung out on the stairs the whole time.
You mean Chislik Khan didn't do anything?
Chislik Khan. No relation to Kublai Khan.
I took great pleasure in doing that Photoshop last week.
Oh, Sinan. Sinan didn't really move much at all between that task and then not really moving with the pipes to transport the steps. It's like he would have been in a position to do 2 of those subtle sabotages, but if he did those, that'd be even more classic Sinan because neither of them affected anything. I'm gonna throw this pipe into the jungle and they're still gonna finish within the 30-minute time limit. Oh, I'm going to rearrange the colors on this clothing line, but we're going to rearrange it well within the time limit. I'm the best mole ever.
I've kind of come round on Sinan. I just want him to stick around for as long as possible, purely because I think we can just keep taking the mick out of him. We can just constantly tease him, and I like that.
Or the fact we had another Scully and Hitchcock moment as Sinan and Robert get to play Jenga together. And didn't their game finish first? Wasn't Sinan like, nah, just take it. Just take that yoker. It's cursed. Go ahead, Robert. Open up that yoker and see that there's nothing inside.
There's nothing more interesting on TV than competitive Jenga.
Yeah, it's just like darts.
So yeah, Niels and Meryl, Robert and Sarah, and Nikki and Sinan pair up. And Robert and Sarah crash a kids' party, at which point Sarah steals the curtains.
I hear that Robert actually just, when they crashed the birthday party, that he stayed an extra few minutes to have some cake.
Well, yeah, he's a baker.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I gotta take in this Colombian cuisine in the favelas. You can have a whole episode of favela cuisine. And if I was on that production team, I would just... One of my bucket list things, I don't know why I didn't do this in Medellin, is to like jump all along the rooftops of favelas, like I'm in an action movie, like just to go hop from one to the other.
Just do a bit of Jason Bourne stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it looks. I mean, as long as I've been to Medellin. I know I went into the gondola that hovered above the favelas of the city, and I know there's a really narrow gap between a lot of the houses, so I think I can pull it off without doing any damage.
And I'm right in thinking that Comuna used to be one of the most dangerous areas of the world, right?
Medellin in general was. They had it was just insane amount of murders during the 80s and early 90s, especially when Pablo Escobar pretty much engaged with the Cali cartel. He killed a couple people he shouldn't have, and then there was just this whole all-out gang war, and there was it 70 murders per day for several months straight, or just some number that's insane. And a lot of them ended up being civilians that were caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, I seem to remember when Comuna Tres was the final clue of where they were going. I seem to remember just having a quick Google of it, and apparently it was Colombia's most notorious neighborhood.
Yeah. And now you can just have random Dutch people stealing people's clothes and feeling completely safe while doing so.
Yeah, I've just quickly Googled it again. One particular area of Medellin, an area called Comuna Tres, also known as the San Javier, has the most tumultuous history of the city, once labelled the most dangerous community due to its astronomical homicide rates and forced displacement of thousands of residents.
Yeah, Well, that was definitely during the Escobar era.
It was a pivotal centre for paramilitary, guerrilla and gang activity. Its location is ideal for crime as it leads directly to the main highway for an easy transportation of guns, drugs and money.
Yep.
And I don't think they've actually acknowledged this on the show yet, but I think they did a mural in Comuna of the team photo from the first episode as well.
Oh. Just I guess even in 1 hour episodes of V is the Mole, there's still some scenes you have to cut out.
And Meryl steals some jeans because she's a kleptomaniac.
Just next episode, after being in those leggings or whatever, those clothes with the design on them, she just starts showing up in random jeans every episode.
It's the Vidum equivalent of Natalie, can I have your jacket?
Natalia, can I puedo hacer su ropas?
And it all gets a bit chaotic, and Rick Paul gets cranky as the colour pattern has messed up. And after 30 minutes, all 9 of the clotheslines were filled, but sadly Jamie and Evelyn guessed wrong, so they earn nothing.
But they made the most beautiful clothing line in all of Medellin.
Yeah,
that's the real prize, guys.
It's the victory. Who cares the fact that you've only got €2,000 in the pot? You made a wonderful clothesline picture.
Yeah, come on, guys. Money isn't everything on the mole. Like, why? It's all about the experience. We should be playing for experiences instead of euros in each challenge. The mole just gets to sabotage our experience by, I don't know, stealing random civilians' clothes or throwing pipes into the jungle. You know, that kind of stuff.
The usual. And on the bus from Comuna, Sarah suggests that they have a new treasurer, much to Nikki's irritation. And it turns out that Sarah becomes the new treasurer.
Yeah, well, I guess Nikki they just didn't trust for whatever reason.
Yeah. And also they do like to change around who the treasurer is, just in case the mole becomes the treasurer and the damage is limited then.
Right. Because the mole can just take money out from the treasury envelope, I guess.
Oh, the mole has done some very shady shit with the treasury envelopes.
So it's just another way for them to sabotage. That's like you could get away with not sabotaging a single challenge, but if you like just throw all the money into the river or something, then it's like, well, you kind of just sabotage 10 challenges worth of work right there. Could you imagine if that happened in the second season of the US Mole? Didn't that pot get up to like $600,000 or something ridiculous? Imagine if it was, say, Bill had the briefcase with all $600,000 and just dumped it all in the river and leaves Dorothy with like 20 grand or something.
I think the mole is probably told that they can't just do that, whereas some of the Dutch moles have done that, but not with the entire pot.
Just like maybe they have like a set percentage. If they're treasure, like you can take out say 20%. That makes sense. Then it just makes it no fun for anybody, or no celebrities would ever want to do it. It's like, well, what if we pick the mole to be the treasure? Then we end up with zero.
There's actually got to be some incentive to doing the show.
Yeah. First of the celebrities. Civilians would probably just be like, oh.
The experience.
Experience, yes. So millennial.
And you look in the background, you just see Sinan cackling, going,
yeah, this was my plan all along.
I have burnt their socks.
Yeah, I burned their socks. Oh, the socks end up with the treasure.
So the second challenge takes place in Plaza Mayor, a bamboo park in the middle of Medellin, and it's the most high-stakes game of Jenga that you've ever seen.
For yokers.
For yokers, yep.
No money involved. Well, they could have lost two. They could have emptied the pot.
To begin with, Rick does give them a dilemma. He tells them to all decide who's going to get a yoker. If they don't decide within 2 minutes, the pot gets emptied, and someone gets it anyway. And Niels suggests that only people who made money last time should get it, and he's democratically chosen to receive it, and the pot remains at €2,000. Everyone else has to split into pairs, and the Jenga towers contain parts of yoker plaques. And if they can remove them before their tower falls, they can keep them. Whoever makes the towers fall loses any yoker tokens that they've earned, and any that their opponent has, they win, up to 3. The pairs are Jamie and Rick Paul, Nikki and Sarah, Robert and Sinan, and Meryl and Evelyn. And my first thought on this is, I mean, surely this is the challenge that Sinan should win, given he loves to wreck things.
Yeah, just push over the tower right away, which he eventually does. But in classic Sinan fashion, I'm going to tip over the tower right when the other person gets the yoker and I have 0.
Robert, you little bitch. I don't know why we suddenly turned Sinan into Russell Hantz, but I like it.
Because he keeps saying he's going to sabotage and be this completely... make it miserable for everybody. And he's like, no, I'm going to let Robert have this yoker. You can have it, my buddy. The yoker is cursed. I spat in it. If you use the chisel and open it up, it's just my spittle.
You're either with me or you're against me, Robert.
or in the case of Sinan spittle, you're either in me or outside of me.
Oh. I won't take that out of context. And something I meant to mention last week. You know how the mole plaques reappeared in the laser labyrinth? The name plaques?
Yes.
I suspect that the moles is going to actually contain something, and that'll be part of the reveal. I reckon the final 3's plaques are going to get chiseled open, and one of them is going to contain some sign that they're the mole.
Oh, yeah.
Especially as this season seems to be the season of custom wood objects. Given that we've had the name plaques, we've had the yokers, and now we have custom Jenga pieces. All of which seem to actually have been created by the same woodshop.
Yeah, they weren't getting much work before, but man, they really got a lot of money and a lot of things to do in this 3-week period.
Nick Offerman is raking it in. And Jamie gets the first yoker, assuming that he doesn't knock over the tower, and Robert somehow gets the second. Sinan gets the token worth 2, but it is worthless without his 1. And then he just lets Robert win. He just wrecks it, as Wreck-It Sinan does. And Robert gets the first yoker of the game. Sarah is the third to complete a yoker token, and despite being the Jenga queen, Nikki knocks it over, making Sarah the second guaranteed recipient, and Nikki looks heartbroken.
Yeah, because she's the Jenga queen. Now she's been demoted to the Jenga jester.
It's the one challenge that she actually has a chance of winning a yoker in, and she manages to knock the stack over.
Yeah, the only other challenge she can win is step on this short Colombian dude's toes.
And then Jamie manages to knock his stack over, meaning that he loses his yoker. And then Evelyn completes both her yoker token and the 2, meaning that Meryl losing would give her all 3. And after a skeletal stack, Meryl does indeed knock it over, giving Evelyn 3 yokers from Rick's magic yoker box.
You know what's funny is that they went to Plaza Mayor. There's so many things that they could probably do there, and I love that Jenga is the best they could come up with.
How did I know you would have been to Plaza Mayor?
Well, it's one of the top attractions in Medellin.
And yet they use it for children's games.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, if they built a custom mole Jenga set, I would be all over that.
Yeah, except the instructions would be all in Dutch, and we'd have to...
It's Jenga! You don't need instructions, it's pull the bricks out, don't knock it over.
What if I need a refresher on the precise rules?
Google it. And everyone gets to Lucky Dip from Rick's magical yoker box, but Niels is given his straight up. And I was fully expecting Niels' one to contain something. It seems like an obvious trick for the one that Rick holds in his hand probably contains a Black Exemption.
Yeah, then it's just empty. Maybe that's what Niels was thinking too, like, oh, this one has to be special for some reason. It's different from the other 12 that were up for grabs. And that was definitely a challenge that was supposed to be designed for 8 people.
Oh, 100%.
4 pairs, it's like, oh, we still have 9. Vote somebody to get a yoker, or we take everything from the pot.
Niels, you just sit this one out, whatever.
Yeah, just here, take this empty yoker. It's worthless anyway if you open it up. We didn't have time to put anything inside. You should have known better. Make a song about it. Your long-lost yoker. You're the real yoker.
And Niels says that he will only open his if he's completely alone, basically. Which is, the right tactic. Especially if, as we suspect, the Black Exemption is going to be in one of those yokers. You don't want to let anyone know that you have one. Ever. And Meryl tests Jamie to see if he will pass on the information that she is considering opening her yoker, but she opens it in front of him anyway, and it does contain the first exemption of the season.
Which she plays.
Which she does play, yeah. However, she uses the phrase, a green exemption, meaning that they must have been told that black exemptions can be in there.
Or maybe there's another colored exemption, like yellow or red.
I think we probably would have heard it if there was going to be another colour exemption. They made a big thing of black exemption getting introduced.
And when was that introduced? Like 8 or 9?
15?
Oh, so... Okay.
Was it 15?
So recent.
14 it was, because it was in Hong Kong they introduced it. Because it was a major thing. The episode they introduced it in had quite a fun quirk to the test, actually. They sat the test in a busy market in Hong Kong, and they went in individually, but Art started talking to them beforehand, and he basically said, you can go straight that way to go to the test, or there are rewards hidden in this market, if you want to go find them. And they were all signposted and stuff, but then there was a black exemption in there for the taking, and they hadn't been told what a black exemption was until that point.
Right.
It only actually got explained once it got played. So that was fun.
Yeah, fun introduction for it, but then you don't really get to have that same effect for the future.
No, but then you never know where it's going to appear, because as I said last week, it appeared in the laser game a few years ago. We had it hidden in one of the grabby claw machines that no one noticed. It's been introduced as part of the morality tests. It's been introduced as part of the great tasks where you walk around a building and can only take the contents of one of the boxes. You never know where it's going to appear, or how it's going to appear, more importantly.
You never know what you're going to get.
And as we said, Niels secretly opens his yoker and it contains nothing. And for the final assignment of the episode, the candidates have to transfer a 3D puzzle through a maze of bars, using 4 of those bars to create a staircase to be able to grab the money. If they guess that they will complete it in less than 30 minutes, they can earn €2,500, and if they guess they can complete it in less than 45 minutes, they can earn €1,500. And they can only pick one. If they guess wrong, they win nothing.
So, does Rick Paul really suck at math? Because they voted, it was a 5-4 vote to do 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then Rick Paul said 80% of the group went with 45 minutes.
I thought that. 80% of the group is impossible. There's 9 of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that makes them extra dumb, too. It's like, I believe it would be 55%, Rick?
Yeah, give or take. I'd round it to 56, personally, but...
Unless 2 people flopped their vote when I wasn't looking and Evie came back.
It's not a run situation. And Sarah says that the mole would pick 30 minutes. And the people who pick 30 minutes are Rick, Paul, Nikki, Sinan and Jamie, which means that Robert, Meryl, Niels, Evelyn and Sarah all pick 45.
Yippers.
But Meryl tries to get away with telling Rick 30 minutes anyway, even though she picked 45. What the hell, Meryl?
Yeah, if you just flopped your vote, you would have had your way.
She had a really weird episode from being a kleptomaniac to lying.
Yeah. And it wasn't even good lying. It's like, just vote 30 minutes to begin with.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't even have to be in that position of, oh, silly me. Oh, guys, I forgot. I forgot I single-handedly decided we would do 45 minutes. I guess I'm going with the group then that I was a part of. It's like she has a dual personality disorder. Maybe she voted for both. Maybe one person actually abstained from voting, and Meryl voted twice, both for 30 minutes and 45 minutes, and we just didn't notice. Maybe like Sinan didn't even cast a vote.
Sinan was just looking around going, how can I wreck this? I would have smashed those bars.
How can I hit somebody with these pipes?
But also, the 3D puzzle is another example of custom woodworking in this season. We never usually see that sort of a build.
I guess maybe somebody has a woodworking background that we're just not aware of.
And Sarah does take the lead on the puzzle, and Meryl helps, which Sarah likes as she can keep an eye on her. And Niels tries to stay out the way and gets rid of the pipes for everyone. And we see one fall in the grass. Now, do you think that that is too obvious?
Yeah, I think so.
So do I. But also Niels is still my one suspect, so...
Oh, you're still in tunnel, Lizzie.
Yeah. I didn't see anything this episode to make me change that opinion.
Right, no one stood out.
And Rick Paul says that he's moved a lot in Amsterdam, before everyone realises that the fourth pipe is missing, and Robert goes a little bit crazy to try and work it out, before Evelyn notices it in the grass. And let's be honest, they easily get the €1,500, leading to a total, at the end of the episode, of €3,500 out of a possible 16.5.
Not the strongest episode.
No.
But not the worst. It could have been a lot worse if they had emptied the pot.
The maximum amount this episode was €4,000, and they got 1,500 of it.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good for mole standards.
And it's now time for the test. And Rick's speech changes again to say that the game is over for whoever does worst. And each of them gets to go to the top of a building in Medellin to do their test. This is a cool visual.
Yes. You know, Colombia is one of the cheaper countries to go to when you can have a production budget that can put people on 9 separate skyscrapers within Medellin and have a spotlight set up on top of each of them. Like, that's a pretty pricey thing to do.
Yeah. Now, I saw a theory from Bindles, which I agree with, that Colombia was probably a backup location. You can usually tell the backup locations. Because the challenges tend to be a little bit less in tune with the location. So, like, when, with the Georgia season, a lot of those were themed around Georgian culture. In 3 episodes, we've only really seen 1 Colombia-themed challenge, maybe 2 if you include Comuna Tres. There's only been a handful of challenges so far where you can 100% say that they could have done that nowhere else in the world.
That's true. They could have done that specific dancing challenge anywhere, really. Just the flag of the country isn't really too specific, because you can just do any flag once you get to the country.
And they have done this before. I mean, we know for a fact that, I think it was Sri Lanka was an alternate location for Russia. It was meant to be an entire season in Russia.
How? That is quite the switch to flip. Can't go to Russia. I guess we're going to Sri Lanka. So similar.
2015 was when the aeroplane got shot down. So they were going to go to Russia and do an entire season in Russia, but then changed it over to Sri Lanka.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll eventually use all of their backup locations.
I'm not sure. So what Bindle said was, my gut feeling is we'll eventually find out Colombia is a last-minute backup location. So far this season has the same kind of feel as Iceland and Sri Lanka visits, both of which were backups. For Morocco because of the Arab Spring, making producers nervous, and Russia because of MH17, respectively. Like, the stinks alike, but surely this isn't the best they could come up with.
Yeah, Bindles is probably right. He usually is.
So the 2012 season, which was Art's first one, was meant to be Morocco and Spain. It ended up being Iceland and Spain because of the Arab Spring.
Iceland. I didn't even know you could do a full season of a TV show in Iceland.
Well, no, they did about 4 or 5 episodes there.
Or rather, half a season.
Because that would have then made the transition a bit more logical rather than having to fly them between Iceland and Spain.
Yeah, Spain and Morocco are so close together.
Well, they would have driven them.
Yeah, you can see Morocco from Malaga.
Yeah, you can. I've been to both.
That's right.
And now time for some suspicions. So Rick Paul suspects Sinan, weirdly. Niels suspects Evelyn as she shows the least emotion, and Sinan as his backup. Nikki suspects Evelyn as her mother told her that her intuition is everything. Robert plays his Joker and is on Meryl and Jamie. Meryl plays her exemption, at which point her floodlight changes immediately to green. Jamie is one of 4 people with no protection and gives us no information on who he suspects. Sarah was fully on Evie and is now on Evelyn and plays her Joker. Evelyn is on Nikki, Rick, Paul, Jamie and Sinan and plays 2 of her 3 Jokers. And Sinan doesn't tell us anything, other than the fact that he wants to cut these little bitches. And Rick isn't at the execution, and they type their own names into the computers.
Yeah, that's how lazy he's gotten. Like, oh, I'm so nervous. My fingers are so jittery. Guys, can you just type in your names yourselves? It's my first season.
I'm wondering whether this is going to play into a challenge at the start of next episode.
Yeah, the person can't really be executed. there's no payoff to that. If it's just, oh, that person got executed, now we move on.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure we're going to get an execution of some description, either, well, Robert or Nikki, as we'll get to in a minute. But
why leave it as a cliffhanger?
I have a theory, and we'll get to that in a minute. But
okay.
Sarah, Rick, Paul, Niels, Evelyn, Sinan, and Jamie all type their names in and get a green screen, and their spotlights do change colour when the screens are shown. And the episode ends with a red floodlight going up for someone, and either Robert or Nikki executed. Now, my theory. Going into this season, you would say, with a reasonable knowledge of Dutch culture, that there are only 3 people who are famous-ish in the cast. They would be Evie, Nikki, and Robert, respectively. Because Dutch Bake Off's pretty damn popular, Nikki is pretty big on YouTube, and Evie is, well, Evie's on Survivor. So, 2 of those 3 are getting executed first. Would you not want to try and keep their fans watching for a little bit longer?
Oh, just even if you have one of them for like half an episode, or a fraction of an episode?
Yeah, because now Nikki especially can go on social media and go, tune in next week to find out whether I'm going.
That's that's a very good point. And also, they could do some sort of challenge where it's like, oh, you don't know which one of these 2 is executed. Try and go find them. Or
guess who it's going to be.
Yeah, 1,000. Yeah. You either guess correctly within 30 minutes or 45 minutes. and Meryl gets to vote 8 times.
So, next time, everyone reacts to the execution. If we change locations, there is a balcony logic puzzle, plus or minus routes, and an invalid yoker is played.
Invalid yoker?
Yeah. Rick says at the end, I'm sorry, this yoker's invalid.
Oh. So, Evelyn played 2 of her yokers this round, right?
Yep.
And Meryl played her exemption?
Yep.
Those are, so we only got just the, few people just got the 1 yoker and that's it.
Sarah played a yoker as well.
Oh, Sarah did play a yoker. Okay, so Evelyn has 1 yoker. Niels opened up his. Is it just the 1 yoker by Evelyn then that's still in? Oh no, Robert. Did Robert play his?
Yeah, Robert played 1 this week, 1 last week. So, Meryl, Robert, Sinan, and Evelyn last week all won a yoker. Meryl, Robert, Sinan, Evelyn. Robert played his, and Sinan opened his, which means that Evelyn has 1 and Meryl has 1, and then Evelyn has another. So Evelyn's got 2, Meryl has 1.
Okay.
And then potentially there's some more next week.
Is that Meryl's second exemption? Or was she the only woman that didn't have an exemption the first round? Yeah, she was exempt. Yeah, just saw in my notes. So she's been exempt from 2 out of 2 out of 3 executions. And there's a good chance she could have been executed the first time.
So, first question. Who out of Robert or Nikki is getting executed this week?
I think it's going to be Nikki.
I think it is as well. I really hope it isn't. I want Robert to go just because it'll annoy Sinan.
Maybe the quiz was too short for her.
Yeah.
Just like the pipes. Why is everything always height related for Nikki?
Or her dancer.
Or her dancer, yeah. It's always something to do with length.
I fear that Nikki's probably going, which is why they instituted the cliffhanger, because then she can tell all her fans to watch what's next week to see if I'm getting executed. But I'd like Robert to go just because his suspicions don't line up with mine.
Who did he suspect?
He suspected Meryl and Jamie this week.
Yeah, Meryl. Yeah, I don't know what. Meryl's been so invisible, which is not a good thing when she steals things from you.
Given that last week we pretty much narrowed it down to Meryl and Niels as the mole, if Robert goes, it's Niels. So I need to root for Robert to go.
Yeah. We need that You need that confirmation that Niels is the mole.
Yeah. Next question, who's on your suspect list?
Hasn't really changed from last week at all, because the people who did suspicious things last week all did suspicious things this week.
So is it still Robert, Sarah, Evelyn, Jamie?
Yeah, because they were the ones in the position to do a lot of damage again this week. Because Evelyn could have potentially been the one that was responsible for screwing up the clothesline guess, plus the 3D puzzle guess, and then Jamie was with her for that, and then Jamie could have been the one to throw the pipe into the other randomly into the yard. Sarah, what did Sarah do this week? Sarah got a huge boost in airtime. That's what happened this week. Yeah, because I thought she was going to be executed just based on that. I'm like, oh, so we need to know that Sarah is in this cast. Why is that? Because you do have to give them all some airtime. You can't make them all invisible.
Another fun element of potentially Robert getting executed is the fact that he was number one on your suspect list. Which, as I said last week, if your number ones keep getting executed, I will laugh a lot.
Yes, that's the thing too. He's 50-50. So if he gets executed, then it makes my job easier. It's like, oh, I narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Thank you, Robert. Anyone else want to be executed this week?
I think my top 2 probably are Niels and then Evelyn. Evelyn's kind of on my radar, because as you said, she did some shadier shit this week.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if she's drawn a ton of attention to herself within the cast. That's the thing.
No. And it is a while since we've had an older Lady Mole.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know they don't really care about, but it's a while since we've had an older Lady Mole.
I don't know why the phrase Lady Mole makes me laugh.
And the final question is, who's getting executed next week? Other than Robert or Nikki?
Let's say Nikki gets executed. And then I think it's maybe Meryl, just because she's been relying on exemption so much. And there was ties for a reason. And she still hasn't really been shown that much at all in all 3 episodes. Like, she had the one conversation with Jamie about opening up the ochre, and then she briefly stole the jeans. Do you remember any other scenes with her this week?
No.
Because everyone else had a presence. Every single person had multiple scenes, multiple confessionals. You always knew what they were thinking. But yeah, Meryl's just like, oh yeah, should I open up this yoker, Jamie? Okay, I will. By the way, I voted for 45 minutes, but I'm going to try and switch it to 30.
The one thing I will say about Robert going, potentially, is the fact that we have very fun motivation for him going and Niels being the mole. With his quote saying, if it is Niels, I'll eat Niels' guitar.
Well, it's a good thing they do a semi-reunion show get-together, like when they do that banquet at the end of the season, instead of just regular food laid out. Or usually they do food, model after the cuisine of the country that they were in for the season. Like they did with Japan, where it was all sushi rolls for the contestants. What they should do is just have like an edible, like, guitar-shaped cake, and Robert gets to eat it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. They need to present him with a guitar-shaped cake if it is Niels.
And he has to eat it one string at a time.
Yeah, I mean, any of the quieter people, I think, are potentially in danger. We need to start getting rid of the people who are potentially on our suspect list, just so we can clarify who is the mole now.
Well, if I lose 2 number 1 suspects in a row, that clarifies it for me.
Yeah, I guess. So, is there anything else to say?
Just that during that clothing challenge, that was one motherfucking line. The only English word uttered by Jamie during the whole episode.
Yeah. What a note to end it on.
Yeah. What a line to end it on.
So thank you for listening to this Views to Mole podcast. You can join us next week for more mole hunting. If you got any questions, feel free to contact us on our Facebook page, Reality TV Warriors, on our Twitter account, RTV Warriors, our own Twitter pages, MJ Armstrong for me and Log Superquacky for Logan. Also, if you're watching Hunted UK, you can join me, Anthony, and Michelle for that every Sunday. And we will see you next week.
Peace out, and just chill till the next flavoring.
Yeah.